We have hit a new all-time low because tonight's post-game show is coming to you live from a closet.
That's right, guys. We're back. A Tuesday night therapy session here on the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by the one, the only Rubik's Cube himself, Erik Ruby. We've got Captain Redbeard behind the Mac making all of the magic happen here in the closet that we have been assigned because, that's right, Arizona State. We did the opposite of the thing. They lost tonight to the Arizona Wildcats, plus 13 to 100 on the road. Guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Obviously, we're bummed not being able to be in the studio, okay, but
It's it already.
That's the bet. Arizona beat Arizona State. That's what we're getting into tonight here on the PHNX Sun Devils post-game show. Is it Bobby Hurley's last rivalry game at Arizona State? Potentially. We've got that question to answer. We've got bottle service, kind of a new edition of Bobby Board, aftertaste, and so much more. We already got JJB in the chat, Matthew, Tina, a bunch of Wildcat fans, I'm sure, are going to be stumbling across
No way,
the
dude.
page
No
the
way.
entire time.
Can I say one thing,
You
though?
could say one thing.
I think it's BS that we're in this closet right now. Because if you ask any Arizona fan if they feel like they actually won that game, they'd all say no.
Yeah, they don't feel good about that.
I mean, we did a live watch along with our PHNX Wildcats friends, Damon and Kevin, and neither of them were happy with this win.
No.
And obviously, we're not happy to lose, but I'm not walking away from this game angry or mad. Like, I wanted them to win, and I wish they could have, but they really did all give it their all tonight. Were they perfect? No. There's some things that were pretty bad that we're going to talk about? Yes. But on the road in Tucson, to put up this many points against a team that's ranked in the top 25 with the amount of players that you have, which did not include Adam Miller.
Yeah. I mean, it did for literally 60 seconds.
Like literally, but not really.
Not really. No.
And so I know we're going to get to the Bobby stuff and I get it, but there's no Arizona fan that feels good right now.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think Arizona State fans feel good, but I was happy with their effort tonight. And the result was what I expected for a team that had just the amount of players that they did.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think for me, this one felt like when your favorite football team or favorite NBA team, when they've hit a point in the season where it's like it's so far gone the wrong way to where you are like, you're rude. But it's different because the Suns have no picks.
Right.
This is like if you're an NFL team and your team is like, they got 4 wins. It's more than halfway past the season. You're like, okay, you're like a little checked out. For me, you still love your team. You still would, you're not that disappointed seeing your team win, right?
Yeah.
But like at that point in the state, you're checked out mentally, right? You just want to see like all of the things for next year. You want to be in a good spot to get a good pick. For me, I'm not mad, right?
Calling Gillespie.
Right? Like you said, this is a game where there were not a lot of expectations for Arizona State fans. And I know Arizona fans are going to watch this and they're going to hear it and they're going to be like, that's such a loser mentality. It's such a sorry mentality. It's not when you have been an Arizona State fan and you've watched this entire season as a whole kind of fall apart brick by brick the way that it's been. Mm-hmm. This is a game in which Arizona was favored by nearly 20 points. They were favored by 18.5 points at the number 24 team in the country. This was an opportunity for them to lock up a number 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament. And granted, they did that, but you did it on your home court in an embarrassing fashion. You gave up 100 points to quite literally 6 players at Arizona State, a team that's not going to make the tournament, a team that's not going to make the NIT, and a team that is more than likely going to have a new head coach heading into 2026.
Yeah, and a team that's downright exhausted. Yeah. Right? Arizona State always seems to play well in the first half. right? And it's, they're in it. And then as the game goes on, it just kind of falls apart. But Alston Mason played all 40 minutes tonight. But I think this is the game where as it went on, it seemed like fatigue hit him a little bit less than usual.
Yeah.
Right. He was still producing late and looked like he was spry. And maybe at this point they're starting to get a little used to it, like toughened by it. But I think that putting up 100 points tonight is a victory for this team, even though they're not getting a win. But like you said, there's a certain point where like you check out. You check out with expectations. I mean, sure, we could talk about Bashir Jihad going 3 for 15.
Oh, and I did on the watch along.
Yeah.
I talked about it a lot.
I mean, 8 to 10 from the line is something. 7 rebounds.
How many points did he have total?
15.
And how many of those came from the charity stripe?
He had 8.
So he had
over
7.
half.
He had 7 points on 15 shots.
Yeah.
Not good.
I mean, that's real hoop.
The opposite of
that's me at pickup over the weekend.
The opposite of great basketball.
Yeah. No, but it's hard to break down this team and look at it like, okay, X's and O's and schematically, like, how did they lose? Like, we know.
Yeah, there's no X's and O's to this one about how they lost the game. The way they lost this game.
I mean, there is, but
again, in reality, you could be almost perfect with the roster that you have right now from a depth perspective, from the amount of time that these guys have played on the court, not just tonight in the last game, but realistically all season long. Joson Sanon's been dealing with injury. Jaden Quaintz has been dealing with injury. Austin Nunez was out with an injury. Brandon Gardner's not available. BJ Freeman got dismissed. Like, this roster has been going through it for months on end. These guys have been playing 38, 39, 40 minutes a game, right? So, like, yes, they're used to it, but I said it on the watch along with like 6 minutes left in the game. Arizona State was down maybe 6 to 8 points. And I turned to you and I said, I don't know if they have literally the offensive capacity for any more points, right? What they've done already with 6 players having 86 points and 5 having 83 of those 86. Sometimes you just reach your limit at what you are capable of doing when you have been out there for nearly 40 minutes against a top 25 team in the country.
Yeah, I agree with you. But at that point, they still scored 14 more.
They did.
Right? Like, you got to the point where you're like, okay, they kind of hit their ceiling. Arizona's now starting to pull away, and the defense is what did it in for ASU. And you do in a vacuum have to give U of A credit for the way they did play team basketball. They had a lot of assists tonight.
Yeah.
They dominated on the boards as well. A ton of free throws tonight, 39 for U of A, 31 for ASU. But you can go through the numbers, which we will in a second, and you look at ASU and you'd be like, wow, you played a really good offensive game.
Yeah.
And defensively, when also your players that foul out, Sean Phillips, Bashir Jihad, are your 2 biggest players that you have. And now Amir Ali is at the 5, right? Like, of course, that top 25 team that has depth at the end of the game is going to be able to score, but you still kept pace enough to be somewhat in it.
Yeah, no, right? I think they did. That was the thing for me that was almost a little frustrating, is it felt like there were moments in the game, and I'd love to hear from everybody in the chat, is it felt like there were moments in this game where Arizona State would build momentum. They would cut it to maybe 6, or they'd cut it to 5, and you would do something on the opposite end. 9 times out of 10, it felt like when you had the ball again on offense, right? You would cut it to 5, you got to stop, and boom, we're heading the other way.
Yeah.
And you would either miss a free throw going to the charity stripe, or you take a bad shot with a bunch of time left on the shot clock. And then Arizona, in hindsight, right, or at least on the other end, would do something that a top 25 team does, and they get an easy bucket, right? They get an and one, they get an open 3, they construct some sort of offense to really kill momentum for you, and they're at home. So of course it's going to build momentum at their arena. And that's exactly kind of what you saw tonight. Is it felt like it was there, but it was always out of reach. It felt like a dog running on a treadmill.
You were always alive. You always could see the run, but
you never were like,
right. U of A fans were like, we were on stream with Damon and Kevin, and they were never comfortable, comfortable until like the very, very end. Right. That's at the point where you get comfortable. And I feel so bad for some of these guys, man. Like, I really do, because I just imagine what Alston Mason would look like with a full team depth
Yeah.
around him. Even at this point with the way that they're playing, if you had Jaden Quaintance around, which I don't.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Quaintance changes this game tonight.
Oh, it changes every game that he plays.
Adam Miller changes this game tonight. Like if BJ
Freeman was playing,
I don't want to create excuses. I don't want to create excuses for this team because I think this team has lost the benefit of the doubt when it comes to certain things. They've lost the conversation starter of, oh, if they had X, Y, and Z, then they could do this. We've lost that because they had those guys at one point and they were incapable of beating teams similar or less than in Arizona.
They actually looked worse when they had some of these players around.
They've lost that benefit of the doubt. But yes, I think there are ways to see it when they play like this, which is almost the more frustrating part, right? Is you love to see your team be great, but it's almost like, okay, then why aren't we doing this? Why isn't Arizona State playing this way with this energy, this effort, this offensive just prowess that they had tonight? Why aren't we seeing this on a nightly basis? Why am I watching Amir Ali and Joson Sanon take ridiculously difficult shots and them fall?
Yeah.
Right. There were some buckets that even Damon was impressed at. Like Amir Ali had hit like a running fadeaway jumper.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I mean, Amir Ali played 39 minutes tonight, 4-9 from the field, 3 of 5 from deep.
If he comes back,
13
if he comes back to Arizona State next year, that would be a major win.
Yeah, and JJ in the chat says Trevor Best can hoop. I do think Trevor Best could hoop. Honestly, I would love for Trevor Best, Amir Ali, and Jaden Quaintance to come back next year. And Joson Sanon.
Yeah, and Sean Phillips. All of those guys can come back.
Okay, you know what, man?
They can all come back.
If Sean Phillips plays like he's been playing these last couple of games, I know he hasn't been perfect. I know he's fouled out. But I don't want Sean Phillips to be on a team where he's expected to play 40 minutes, right? Because then he has to be timid with his athletic ability and go blocking, which I love that he's been going up and getting it, and he's been going head first at the hoop. Like he's been playing like he's 7 feet, and that's always what I've been asking for from him. And if you can have, I was talking to Shane about this during the game, if you can have Jaden Quaintance starting, right, and Sean Phillips off the bench, Sean Phillips playing like he has now, especially defensively, would get ASU one hell of an interior defense.
Agreed.
At all times.
Yeah.
And that is something that you can anchor a team around, even if you do, let's say, go for a younger coach, right? Or if you keep Bobby around. Like that's an identity there. But you need Sean Phillips to play like this. So that's what I'm going to be watching in the season. Like Trevor Best, how are you playing? Sean Phillips, are you playing in a way that you want to come back and they would want you back too? Like, you have to give credit where credit is due. I see a team in the PHNX Suns who have coaching rumors and, things aren't going great for them, just like ASU isn't. But this team is giving effort.
Yeah.
And there's no questioning that. And there is with a lot of other teams in this situation. And so, if there are a lot of guys who I'm like, okay, man, if you're going to come like this when times get tough, like when times are better, can we keep this going?
Yeah.
Right. Can we use you as an asset to win, not just stay alive?
Will with a funny comment saying great X's and O's will beat Jimmy's and Joe's more times than not. Bobby has great Jimmy's and Joe's, but no X's and O's, and it shows.
That's kind of bars though.
That is kind of a bar. Dang, that needs to
That's
be
like a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
In the next Smack the A, you need to get that going.
Great X's and O's will beat Jimmy's and Joe's more times than not. Bobby has great Jimmy's and Joe's, but no X's and O's, and it shows.
What has Bobby got?
What has Bobby got?
Oh my goodness, guys! Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast.
Who would have thunk you get the Dr. Seuss poem
right before By the Numbers?
I mean, usually go hand in hand. It's poetic.
Guys, By the Numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Starting with the only number that matters, of course, that final score. $113 for the Wildcats to the Devils 100. Leading scorers on each side, Alston Mason with 33 for Hurley squad, and Henry Vasar for the Wildcats with 22. Both teams shooting a ridiculous clip tonight from the floor. 46% for Arizona State, 59% for Arizona. Things heated up from three-point land too. 52% for Hurley squad, 43% for Arizona. And then points in the paint, 52 of Arizona's 113 coming in the paint, just 30 out of the 100 for Arizona State, Erik.
That's so impressive that this team can score 100 points on the road and score 30 points in the paint.
They were just shooting the crap out of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, 52% from three. That's pretty insane. And
52% from three, and you took what, 23 threes? 23 threes?
23 threes.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
46% from the field. I mean, Alston Mason, I think, best game of the season.
By far.
And
they shot great from the free throw line, too.
And look, I know we're not in the making excuses business, and I get that any U of A fan who listen to this will come in and be like, of course you're going to say, like, listen, man, like, what do you want from us in this situation? Because, like, I am going to look for something that's like, okay, what tells the story of this game? Yeah. What could be positive? Listen, Sean Phillips fouled out. Bashir Jihad fouled out. End of the game. Like, and a lot of the times, like, U of A was just scoring inside, even with those two players on there. But you got to admit that points in the paint discrepancy has to just come from the fact that ASU didn't have size because they didn't have depth, right?
I mean, Arizona.
And then they fouled out.
Arizona, and I know they cleared the bench at the end. Played 14 players tonight.
Yeah.
I know they cleared the bench.
How many players
they
played double
14.
digits?
How many players played double digits for the Wildcats? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 players in double digits. That's more players than ASU had at its disposal.
Arizona State, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in double digits.
6 in double digits?
6 in double digits. Okay. Bobby Hurley Jr. played 6 minutes. And Adam Miller played technically 0 full minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if you just assume that at that point with fatigue and with the size discrepancy, those 13 points that you lose by are the easy buckets that U of A gets because of your being undermanned. But, you know, Bobby did earlier today take responsibility for the roster being the way that it is and not having the type of
which
depth.
I appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because it is true and it sucks, but none of these dudes have given up, and you do have to give Bobby credit for that. And maybe that's something that we should do in a second. Maybe after, you know, our first.
I was waiting to see if the rambling was just going to lead to a break or if
it usually does.
Leave it.
Yeah, it usually does.
Let's go ahead. Let's kick it to a break. PHNX Sun Devils show continues after this. Guys, NASCAR returns to Phoenix Raceway March 7th through the 9th. The weather, I don't know if you guys have been checking it out, but it is getting absolutely beautiful outside. Take the kids, take the family, take the friends, take a day, go solo if you want to. Take them all to Phoenix Raceway March 7th through the 9th because the stars of NASCAR are going to be battling it out for the Shriners Children's 500 over at Phoenix Raceway. There's nothing like witnessing a live NASCAR battle at 200 miles per hour on this 1-mile oval raceway in the foothills of the Estrella Mountains. It really is a beautiful experience out there, guys. If you've never been, it's a best in class fan experience that the whole family won't forget. Make sure you get your tickets now over at phoenixraceway.com.
I'm looking good today, even though the loss isn't looking too great, but I'm looking good because I'm wearing my branded Bills hats. And I know exactly what I'm going to get when I pick out my branded Bills hats, which I have like 15 of. Like
you do have a collection.
Every ASU branded Bills hat that you could possibly have, I have.
You have, yeah.
And every time I pick it up, I know exactly what I'm going to get. It's fantastic quality, like literally the best quality hat that I've owned. Especially you mentioned, you know, the weather's nice. Well, it's about to get real hot, and the fabric and the way that these hats are made, man, like they are just perfect. Like they have you covered with performance and style, and they don't just have these types of hats. They have truckers, fitted, beanies, tees, snapbacks. Like they have everything, and you can put your own custom logo. One of the Brandon Bills hats that I have is our PHNX hat.
Yeah.
And you can head to BrandonBills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Also want to make sure everybody knows, sign up to become a PHNX diehard. There's a ton of stuff over on the website.
I think the coolest thing that we do, and I think all of our diehards, especially our ASU diehards, which we have such a strong ASU community, very active ASU community in there, is our Discord.
Yeah.
Our Discord is so awesome. Like they are constantly discussing, keeping you up to date, like everything with hockey, swim and dive. Like we are in there all the time.
Oh yeah.
Just talking ASU sports, period.
Talking all sorts of things. I was talking with somebody today about who Cam Scadaboo is going to draft.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, the Cam Scadaboo conversation, that's huge in there.
Or I guess who's going to draft.
And if you want to, and if you are a PHNX diehard, as in you watch all the shows and you're a Cardinals fan, or maybe you don't know about us and you're a fan of other teams, we have this Discord for Suns, for Cardinals, for Diamondbacks, for Mercury. You know, we have one for U of A. You know, if you want to go over there, We have one for we have it for everything. And so you can become a diehard. Go to gophnx.com/join, become a diehard today.
Steve R in the chat saying U of A fan, we just played awful defense and just overall probably the most uninspired game all season. Frustrating.
That's why we shouldn't be in this damn closet. This closet
get it off your chest, man.
It has no juice right now. Like, I feel like
it's a no juice closet.
I feel like we're being held hostage.
We're 20 minutes in and I'm starting to get hot.
A little bit.
I'm starting to get hot. The hoodie and the sweats.
Yeah. I was looking at you. I was looking at me, and I was like, we
didn't dress accordingly.
Kind of confidently.
Captain Redbeard, on the other hand, short sleeve shirt.
Standing the whole time as well.
Yeah, standing up the whole time is crazy.
People don't know this because y'all don't see Captain Redbeard like that, but he is a beast.
He is an animal.
He's an animal.
An absolute animal, which is a perfect segue to bottle service.
Give it to Captain.
Honorary bottle service.
Honorary bottle service.
Honorary bottle service goes to Captain Redbeard. But the man of the hour who's going to be popping bottles with Captain Redbeard is, of course, Alston Mason. Have yourself an evening. 33 points, went 5 of 7 from 3-point land. Also had 6 dishes as well. This kid was unbeatable. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. A guy that has come, he's started to get accustomed to playing 39 to 40 minutes a night, because that's what he's been doing realistically since the start of the season. And tonight, it didn't look like he was gassed. He was efficient. He was getting his teammates involved. He was really, really accurate at the charity stripe, 8 of 8. Crashed a glass a time or two, had a couple steals. Like, he was the team tonight for Bobby Hurley and company.
He was the heart and the soul, and man, he is just as good as I thought he was going to be when we were watching his highlights. And when he committed over here, I saw just such a dynamic guard. And one of the things that I remember saying is he's going to have to learn and adjust to not having to be the guy all the time and to play 40 minutes a game and to have a high usage percentage. And how is he going to adapt to fitting in?
Yeah.
And fast forward, here we are today. He has to play 40 minutes basically every single game. And he is doing really well when handling it. And that is the benefit of having to have done that at a lower level before, even if it doesn't lead to wins. Like, he's still performing well.
Not just playing 40 minutes, but playing 40 minutes at the point guard position, right? Being the guy that your sole responsibility is to make this offense go, right? Especially for an Arizona State team that's rolling out a Joson Sanon, rolling out a Sean Phillips Jr., rolling out an Amir Ali, younger guys, right? That, again, this is their second go round pretty much in this rivalry game. Sean Phillips, obviously a little bit more experience, but overall, like, Alston Mason's your savvy vet on the team when you got 10 minutes left in the game. Bashir's gone, Sean Phillips are gone. You need somebody to go get a bucket. You need somebody to get the teammates involved. You need somebody to get everybody hyped on the defensive side. Like, Alston Mason was that guy tonight, literally from the start of the game to the very end of the game. And I think you brought this up in your tweet, not just an Alston Mason thing, but the effort tonight, the energy. Like, and I don't think, I didn't go into this game thinking that this team was going to quit, especially based off of what we had seen in the BYU matchup, right? I didn't think this team was going to give up. But tonight, to go out there and keep it like this, keep it a back and forth, keep it a toe-to-toe, even though I know you weren't really ever in the lead, it felt like that, right? Like you said, we were doing a watch along with the Arizona guys. They weren't happy with it. They felt like there was certainly a turning of the tide at a certain point. So I think to end that long ramble, the energy and the effort from not just Alston, but really all of these guys. Like, I know they didn't win, but you could argue bottle service for each and every one of these
bottle
guys.
Service for the fellas,
for the dudes.
Just they did give it their all, and it wasn't enough. And I'm not surprised that it wasn't enough, but they gave it their all. And if they can go in tomorrow, and not tomorrow, next game, if it was tomorrow, that'd be a tough turnaround, but show some fight against Tech. I mean, that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
I know that we've been really hard on Bobby Hurley, and I understand that, this might be his last time coaching U of A, but I'm very on the record in saying that, like, his passion and his his energy and want and desire for this program to be great and his hate for U of A, it is infectious, and his players never give up on him, really.
Yeah.
Like, even like Jose Perez, who left, right? People said gave up, and I think so, rightfully so, left in the middle of the season, was out here defending Bobby Hurley specifically, right? The players love Bobby Hurley, and there is a really big benefit to that, but it's just not enough right now. No. But I don't want to take that away from them. And it's a massive part to why Arizona State has been in these games recently, when they've had so little players. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And he took responsibility for it. But I've seen teams give up in these situations, and this team isn't doing it. And that is on a coach. And so you have to give him credit, even if it's not enough to save his job.
I'll give you that. Green Giant 4 in the chat saying, do we think the portal will take many of our guys? I hope not, but just curious. I think so.
Yeah.
I think a lot obviously depends on Bobby. I think if they bring him back, there's going to be players that want to stay, and there's going to be players that want to leave. I think if Bobby doesn't come back, I think you're going to have a good chunk of players that want to leave. Because anytime you have players, obviously, in this day and age of college sports, have that opportunity to enter the portal.
Yeah.
Especially after some of the seasons that these guys have had. I know as a team, it hasn't necessarily worked out, but I think individually you can make a case for each and every one of these guys being on other D1 rosters and feeling very confident, especially those freshmen, right? Amir Ali, Joson, Sanon, we'll talk about in a little bit. So I do think the portal will snag a couple of guys that Arizona State fans really, really could the portal will snag some guys that maybe will have really good college careers.
What I feel like is if one young guy leaves, I think they all leave. But I think if we can get one to stay, you might have a chance.
I don't know.
But I just don't know what that odds are. You don't know who's going to coach. You don't know how they feel about the coach. It might be the right move as a program to move on from Bobby Hurley. You might think that. But the players wouldn't return, because they like Bobby that much.
They might not return regardless.
Right, they might not. But
again,
you don't know that. Like that's kind of the tough thing when you have a coach that the players do like so much. And I mean, you even have Vontez in the chat saying, "I genuinely love Bobby. I will miss him, and thank you to Bobby for the last 10 years. Some awesome times." There have been some high highs, but I think it's
but not high enough.
No, I think it's time, but I also think that it's a really weird point where he's always been good at getting the players, and you look at this roster and there are players you want to retain, and they have a good relationship.
How many
with Bobby.
times are you going to do this? How many times do you want to go another 20?
No, I don't personally want to.
I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to just the fan base, the people that are Bobby believers for life, right? Because I know there are people that way that aren't U of A fans trolling. Is at what point are we going to expect more than just really good players being on the team, right?
Sure.
You expect some sort of offense. You expect a team to be out there, not 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 individuals out there at any given moment. You need more than just good players to win in today's era of college basketball. This is not like it was 15, 20 years ago when you could have freshman one and dones carry you to the NCAA tournament and carry you to a round of 32, right? That doesn't exist in college basketball anymore. It's even more rare what Arizona State has tried to do this season with the amount of play that the freshmen are getting with Amir Ali, Joson Sanon, and Jaden Quains. There probably isn't a school out there right now in Division I, or at least in the Power 4, giving as many minutes to true freshmen as Arizona State.
Two 17-year-olds. Well,
literally the
Quains
youngest player
anymore,
in college basketball is at Arizona State and Jaden Quains, right?
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of teams doing that anymore. So I don't know, man. I don't see a lot of these guys coming back.
I don't either. I was just it's kind of bringing up the fact that if there is a path to bringing them back, it's probably a path you don't want to take because it comes with an extension or it comes with not moving on from Bobby. Do we want to have the Bobby conversation right now? Was this the final U of A game coached for him?
Let's do it on the other side of this second break.
I need some food.
You do.
I am a hungry boy right now. This is a late show. It's technically
I could use some food.
It's technically tomorrow. right? And tomorrow's always the best day
It's
to get
technically tomorrow.
Spinatos
Yeah,
because
you're right.
Spinatos is the place to be if you're a Suns fan or if you're just a delicious pizza lover. Honestly, it's probably easier if I try to just tell you about the pizza than tell you about the fact that they have Suns watch parties with the gorilla and the dancers, or that you can win money playing basketball over there, or that they're the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. But I think the true selling point is the fact that you're going to eat the pizza. It's going to become the official pizza of you because it is just that delicious. I won free Spinatos when I went to a Suns game.
Did you really?
Got to cash in on it. Well, Megan caught the pizza box.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Hell of a snack.
I mean, I need that right now. And you can get all the info on the watch parties and pizza basketball contest at spinatospizzeria.com. Spinatos, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
I need you all to hear me out. And by you all, I mean everybody, including you and including Captain
I'll never
Richard.
listen.
Okay, well, just hear me out. Okay?
Okay.
When this season ends, because it's been a very, very long one.
It never ends.
I think the three of us need to get 3 separate rooms, and we should all take a staycation with our friends over at Gila River Resorts Casino.
Do we hang out together?
At times in the evenings.
Okay. Do we schedule it?
I just feel
like a dinner
we
to catch up at one of their upscale or approachable restaurants,
Yeah,
considering that
maybe
such a wide variety.
We could meet up in the sports book or maybe the little golf simulator.
I mean, there's a lot of those live table games. I mean, just anything that you could possibly imagine.
Literally the pool.
I mean, we can invite Shane. Shane's great on the slots.
Yeah, we could do that. Do we want Shane to come?
I mean, if it's Wild Horse Pass, we know that Shane's pretty lucky in there.
Absolutely.
So we got to go there with
Let's
him.
get everybody here at PHNX over to Gila River Resorts Casinos. And literally, you can have that with some of the watch parties that we have over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, but it doesn't stop there. Obviously, got some draft party stuff, some watch parties, and so much more. Remember, you do you over at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details or check out the link in the description below. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button.
Do it for the closet.
Do it for the closet.
Do it for us sitting in uncomfortable positions for an hour.
In the closet. That's what we do.
That's how we do it.
Have the Bobby conversation.
Yeah, this is a throwback to when we were probably talking about this last. We were doing shows out of here consistently.
Yeah.
But
no bueno.
Yeah, the whole Bobby thing. I feel like I have accepted that it's the end, but knowing that I think you feel a similar way, and I don't know, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. Like, I'm pretty confident that this is the last game that he coaches against U of A.
Yeah.
So I think the more appropriate question would be, what are the odds that it isn't?
Well, let's make a case for it.
Last time we were in here, you made me have to be like a fake lawyer or something and decide which sport to cut.
I think I made you be an athletic director.
Yeah, you made me cut a sport.
Well, let's think about it.
Okay.
And this is, again, I don't want it to get misconstrued, but like I think we're in agreement that we feel like this was Bobby's last game, like you said, at last rivalry game as a head coach at ASU. So what's the argument on the other side for retaining Bobby? Well, I think it's the idea that he is able to recruit really, really talented players.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's always going to be at the forefront of this conversation. Is he has been capable of doing something that nobody else has been able to really do at Arizona State and get consistent 5 stars, it feels like, or really high 4 stars.
And he could retain the ones that you have currently. I think that's the biggest plus, more so than who he could bring in that's new.
It's can he actually do that? Can he get Jaden Quaintz to come back? Can he get Joson Sanon to come back? Can he get Amir Ali to come back? If he can, then I'll listen. Then that's an honest.
Is that everybody who can come? Is that everybody who can come back?
Sean Phillips Jr. can come back, and Trevor Best can come back.
Everybody else is
gone. This team will look new regardless of the transfer portal.
Not even Danny Hurley Jr.
No. Regardless of transfer portal stealing players or not, this team will 100% look different going into next season just based off of eligibility reasons.
Yeah, and that's
Brandon Gardner and Austin Nunez can both come back as well.
Yeah, but you don't know what that's going to look like either, and you haven't seen them really play this year, at least not for a long time in some cases. So it's going to be a complete, basically, rebuild.
Yes.
And you hope to keep some of your core pieces, but it's college basketball. You very well couldn't. And I think as far as the only other case for Bobby goes is you try to think about the other side of, okay, well, does it get worse? Because it is on the table. Like I said, this team could have quit.
They could have.
This team could have lost by a lot more points the last couple of games. And I know that's saying something, but it's true. Technically speaking, it could get worse. Now, I'm not saying I've changed
But
my
is that
mind.
the argument?
Yeah, I mean, it's a argument.
I just don't think that's the argument.
I don't agree with it, but I'm just trying to think about what the argument would be. And it might get, but here's the thing, not just like worse in the short term, because you might have a dip in like a kind of program building year, but I'm talking about like,
I don't think you could have
worse as a like a ceiling. Like, it's like, okay, now you have a coach that can't make it to the tournament, right? Instead of make it and win the, beat Syracuse once or lose to Syracuse again. Like I feel like that's the worry that you bring with a new coach, but it's, as far as like risk percentage goes, it's not nearly as risky.
Screw the risk and the reward, man. Like you technically took a risk when you hired Dilly. He was the first-year head coach. He was going to be the youngest head coach in college football. You brought him in. You said, here are the keys to our program that's on fire. Not only do I need you to put out the fire, but I need you to build a white picket fence in a 2-story house.
Yeah.
And he built you a mansion on an island. Like, that's what he was capable of doing, and it was a risk. And again, I hate the comparison between Kenny and Bobby and other coaches here, because Kenny is such a rarity in college sports. So I don't think, and I've said it before, there is not a Kenny Dillingham for the Arizona State basketball program.
I don't even think it's just about Kenny, though.
No, but this is what I'm saying in terms of the risk of the reward is like, this is sports. Take the risk.
Sure.
What's the worst case scenario? You suck for another 3 years before you fire a coach and you do it again? Like, is this better? Is this better than that alternative?
Yeah.
Or would you rather live on the other side of the freeway?
I respect the people who don't want to do that. I personally am in the camp of move on, because you're also seeing like a new fresh coach, in any sport. Like, the game's always evolving, and not just about it being Kenny, but just about it being like, hey, take a shot on an up and comer, right? And someone who has true passion for it and embraces the new era of college athletics. And I'm not saying Bobby hasn't done that, but there's a relatability factor and a way to get through to people and to coach them well. And maybe Bobby is saying certain things, but they're just not coming off because maybe he doesn't have that same connection. Like, they like him, but there's a difference between liking somebody and connecting with somebody.
Yeah.
Right. So there are things that maybe you need to try to see what works for you. Is Arizona State maybe that place that the hot new head coaches go who are trying to make a big splash?
Be cool.
Right. Because there's an energy around teams when they kind of revamp a little bit. And if you're passionate about it, people feed off that energy, and you have a sellable product.
Yeah.
So you roll the dice on that, or you go with somebody old and established and try to raise your floor and turn your program around fast. But, I don't even know which way I would fully prefer, but I'm leaning towards just go for somebody young. Roll the dice. Yeah,
no, you roll the dice in college sports these days. Nan1 in the chat. Is he a U of A guy or ASU guy?
He's
ASU. He says, so this makes it even better because he's so pessimistic right now, and it's funny.
Yeah.
He's saying it's going to get worse. Nah, this is better. I hope y'all right. It's not. Like, you could just watch the decline of like.
So Nan1, my question for you then, and I'm not asking you this as like a gotcha. I'm genuinely curious. Are you okay with what we feel like we've seen the ceiling of a Bobby Hurley team could be?
Should we just sit in silence until you?
Yeah, until Nan1 responds, because. And I'm just saying that, like, I don't like what the quote unquote highs have been. And I listen, I love the big wins.
Yeah, what's
in
the
moment.
high?
Right. The wins against
Dayton,
Kansas.
Ohio.
Right? Like,
no, screw that, dude. I am done saying that a team and a coach's best thing that he did in 10 years was he won a regular season game. That is not a great standard.
No, I get it.
Hold.
And I agree. And I said this when you were out earlier last month. And I just basically said, like, as a program, you have to look at yourself and decide, like, what is okay at Arizona State, right? Like, as an athletic department, like, what standard do we want to hold ourselves to?
That's a big question.
Right? Because you look at football, okay? Don't just look at how good football is, but look at how that investment has returned for you. Think about the excitement, the money, the revenue, the attention, the social media clips, right? Like, the ascension into what could be the next big college football program if you somehow capitalize on this trajectory, right? And you do that by finding the hometown kid. I mean, what's better PR than that, right?
There isn't.
So are you the athletic department that says, wow, Arizona State football is really good, but then beyond that, some teams will have a good year? Are you the schools that go, damn, they got a baseball team, they got a basketball team every year, man, they got a hockey team, they got swim and dive, they got triathlon, and they do win those things. There are 4 Big 12 championships. So you ask yourself, is basketball holding itself up to that standard on both sides, by the way?
Yeah.
Is basketball up to that standard? And if it's not, is there somebody better suited to get there? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
I mean, you don't have to ask it. Graham Rossini has to ask it.
I'm talking to I know Graham. We're saying, hey, you know what we're talking about.
He's got there are some decisions that need to be made. Very, very difficult decisions. I feel like. I know it's very easy for us to sit back here and say, hey, let's get a move on. Let's move on from Bobby Hurley. But these are very difficult decisions. There's a lot of time, right? That Bobby Hurley has spent here trying to build this program, and you take that into consideration. Sure. Obviously, Graham, this would be a major move, a major decision. Yeah. In his tenure, obviously he's done some things with the football program, the Kenny hire that goes back to Ray. This would be realistically the first major decision, I would say, unless I'm completely blanking on one.
I think that this would be the
major
most public, the most public major coaching decision. Especially one that would come with like negative press. I mean, like extending your coordinators for 3 years when they're, both some of the best coordinators in college football. Like that's great press, right? Yes. Like, it's going to be a big story, right? Extending Kenny Dillingham, like that's going to be a great story, right? But the biggest decisions that you have to make as far as like, okay, the rubber meets the road, what are you going to do here? It's a big one. And you know what? Like the same way that you have to say, hey, we hold ourselves to a standard about results. Arizona State also should hold a standard as to, do you really give an F about this school? Right. Yeah. Because that's also a huge part of Kenny. And you know what, man? Bobby does.
Bobby is a very passionate coach.
Bobby cares to a fault, but I'd rather have a coach that cares to a fault than not.
Go ahead. Sorry. I didn't mean to catch
Well, no, it's fine. I just would rather have a coach that cares too much to a fault, but I think there are other things beyond that are the reason why I'm done with Bobby Hurley. But if you're looking at a coach's care factor for Arizona State, like the university and the hatred for who you're supposed to hate, Bobby is up there with the Kennys of just how much he cares.
Yeah. And this will rub people the wrong way. I love the way Bobby Hurley composes himself on the bench. I love it. I love the energy. I love the passion. The dude wears his heart on his sleeve. You could tell that when they're going for 40 minutes, Bobby Hurley is locked into this basketball game for 40 minutes, and he's doing everything up until that final whistle to figure out how to win this ball game. That's what I love from my coach. Does it pour over a little bit? Does it cost the team a little bit sometimes? Maybe offensively, defensively, technical fouls. Does it do that? Yes, absolutely. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is the actual product. And the product over the last few seasons has been very, very middle of the pack. And this year, below the standard of what this program can be. And guess what? You were in the middle of the pack in the Pac-12, a conference that was third tier probably, the third Power 5 conference in basketball. And you could make an argument that it wasn't even 3, right? So now you're in the Big 12. A conference that is clearly either 1 or 2 in college basketball and will be for a very long time. And you're below the bar. You're below the standard. And it feels like there are so many programs, a Texas Tech, a BYU, a Houston that continues to get better, and Iowa State that remains top tier. These programs are only going to get better, and this conference is only going to get more competitive. So do you join the fight, or do you sit back and you say, you know what? We're a football school. We're going to try and rebuild baseball. That's where our money, that's where our investments are going to go. We are absolutely cool with what Bobby Hurley gets us every single year in college basketball. We'll take the tournament. We'll take the first 4, 1 in every 4 years. And that's just what we'll be as a basketball.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. I hope it's not, because I think that there are resources here, and despite, some belief, and I think there needs to be some tweaks. I think that there is a lot of groundwork being laid that could be a good basketball program here. I do think Bobby deserves a lot of credit for getting the players here, but I also think you have a product that you can sell. It's a good product, and that's Tempe, and that's Arizona State.
Absolutely.
And so, at the end of the day, you really don't know what you're going to get next, but I don't see a great future if you just continue to try to make the same thing work over and over and over again. And you have to accept the fact that it's a risk, but sometimes a risk is worth taking.
That's fair. Look, I want to hear about all the risky things that this game tasted like. Is that fair? Can we walk the line there?
I don't like that word.
You don't like the word risky?
I know. I did not in this context.
Why not? You can eat risky things.
Okay, go ahead. Ask me.
Ask you.
Yeah.
Captain, I want to know if Captain's ready. Does Captain have the ability to speak?
I do.
Let's go.
Closet got an upgrade mid-show.
Love that. Love that. How do you feel about the word risky in this context?
It's a risky aftertaste.
Yeah.
It's a risky aftertaste.
Yeah, risky aftertaste.
Yeah.
So I should have a risky pick.
Potentially, I think risky is where we should go here, right? We said we roll the dice with the new coach. I think we roll the dice here. So I'm going to start with you, Captain Redbeard. What was dripped into your tooth box?
Jeez.
A grapefruit was dripped into my tooth box.
Wow. Okay, let's hear it.
You know, a little sour, but because Bobby might be leaving.
Okay.
But it was a little sweet too,
Wow.
because we put up 100 points with what felt like, you know, no players on our team. You know, we had a few, but that was it.
I love that.
And yeah, it was sweet and sour like grapefruit.
What do you got?
I got, and I'm reaching here because I'm panicking. I don't really have anything. So
What was dripped into your tooth box, Rubus?
a stale peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because
peanut butter and jelly
you're
sandwich.
using the last of what you have. You got some bread that's been
got
there.
the-
It's at the end of
you
its
got the
life, but
butt-
it's still eatable.
You got the butt bread.
You got the butt bread, right? You got a little bit of peanut butter. You got a little bit of jelly, and you're hungry. and you need to eat.
Wait. What kind of jelly?
Oh, I'm a grape jelly kind of
Grape
guy.
jelly. Okay.
But I will mess with multiple types of jellies.
I'm a big jelly guy.
Yeah.
Big jelly guy.
What's your top
I mean,
jelly?
there's so many. There's so many jellies.
I see your eyes lighting up.
Dude,
So this is what
I
I'm saying,
love
right?
jelly.
So what I'm saying is like you're hungry, you got nothing, a little stale bread, you got some peanut butter, got some jelly, but you eat it and you're like, you know what? You know, it's not a 5-star meal, but that for what I had and the circumstances I was in, that actually
That's
tasted
fine.
pretty damn
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, we live with
I
that.
can live with that.
Yeah,
I
we
can
live with
absolutely
that.
live with that. I'm gonna go with a kiwi. And part of the reason I'm gonna go with a kiwi here is because I actually had my very first kiwi. I had my very first
Aw.
kiwi. Yeah. Literally, what day is it? Tuesday? I maybe Sunday, Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
I think it was Saturday.
Technically it's Wednesday, but yeah.
It's okay. Saturday, I had my first kiwi, right? Ever.
What?
Yeah. I've never
You've
had a
gone
kiwi.
this long in life.
I've
and
gone 27 years without eating
Okay,
a kiwi.
is there another fruit that you haven't eaten, like pomegranate?
I've had pomegranate. No, I think just
Raspberry.
kiwi. I've had I've had all these. Yeah.
strong kiwi.
Hairy. It's a hairy fruit. It's a risky fruit, especially if you don't know
you eating
what you're
straight
doing.
up coconut?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a hairy fruit.
It's.
But what do I know?
I mean, a kiwi looks gross. Let's say it for what it is. It's an ugly fruit.
Wow, that's kind of offensive.
It's an
for sure.
ugly fruit. It may be the ugliest. That's what the people are saying.
Wow.
Okay.
Ugliest.
This game, ugly. No defense whatsoever at all. I think the opposing defenses forced a combined 10 turnovers tonight. Both teams scoring 100+ points tonight. It was gross. It was ugly. But when you sink your teeth in to this game, there was some kick to it. It was sour. It was something that you weren't expecting. Maybe it's a little chilly. Maybe it's cold. It was dang good. That's what it was.
So you like the kiwi?
I like the kiwi.
Well, are you going to go back to the kiwi?
I already did yesterday.
Really?
I already did yesterday. Yeah.
Wow.
Kiwi, man,
I'm
great
proud of
fruit.
you for trying
Great
new
fruit.
things.
It's what I do. It's what I do. And look, I'm going to try a new thing here. I know you're the guy to send it to break, but my new thing is I'm going to go ahead and kick it to break. We'll be right back after this.
You did a really good job.
Thanks, man.
Just as good of a job as Cornbread Hemp does at making the perfect gummies for you to relax, give a healthier way to relieve your aches and pains while getting a better night's sleep. Try Cornbread Hemp's USDA organic CBD gummies. Cornbread offers the first USDA organic CBD gummy in the USA. Their CBD gummies are the highest quality full spectrum gummies on the market. And for me, I personally love them for sleep. I mean, right now we're doing a post-game show at 12:30.
It is
at
12.
night.
Yeah, it's
And
12:23 a.m.
Believe it or not, this thing gets your mind racing. It's hard to sleep at night afterwards. Get a little Cornbread Hemp, little THC, little CBD, TBD. Not
Mixing up
really,
all the
because you're going to be
letters.
great.
Yeah.
It's not to be
Yeah.
determined. It's to be known that you can get a better life over at Cornbread Hemp. And if you want to give them a try, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use promo code PHNX at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use code PHNX.
Look, guys, something that Erik mentioned earlier has really been sticking with me. He said it's starting to get hot outside, or it's going to get hot very, very soon. Those triple digits are right around the corner, which means you're going to have no clouds, just 110 degrees, sun shining down on you at the pool, at the park, going to work, all the times. You got to get your Shady Rays if you're going to survive here in the Valley. Our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that, look, they're not going to break the bank. That's honestly one of the best parts. They are affordable, and they've got a ton of different options. Me, Captain Redbeard, Erik, all very different men with all very different styles.
Hashtag blind mouse gang stand up.
Shady Rays has something for everybody in their collection. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange it for a brand new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. And get this, PHNX viewers and listeners, make sure you go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHNX. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so make sure you use that code PHNX today at shadyrays.com. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a juicy 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at the Bobby board from tonight. We got 2 different Bobby boards. Let's go ahead and roll the normal one that we do. Obviously, no Bobby face.
Looking
here.
awesome. That whole corner is wiped out.
It's looking very grim. 1 Bobby face in this entire row. Just 4 conference wins still at this point in the season. You got 1 regular season game left against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. That's on Saturday night. Of course, the boys will be back in town, of course, doing a post-game show. And we will have a post-game show for the Big 12 tournament game that Arizona State gets to play in.
The start of the magical run.
Just like you said it. But this Bobby board, not too important to me.
Okay.
We caught it on fire. It caught fire weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But what I do want to look at is the PHNX board of failure.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
I want to look at all of what is pretty much on the Bobby board. But I want you guys to tell me where you felt like maybe this season wasn't a failure, but where you maybe lost faith. Where you
we're playing a game.
Where you were like, I think this is it. That feel like a game?
I'm
you
hyped.
do?
Let's do it.
Captain Redbeard, let's start with you. At what point in the season did you lose faith in this ball team?
I haven't given up.
You haven't given up is crazy.
Look at him.
That's crazy behavior.
We haven't given up yet. We put up a good fight tonight, and we're gonna win our last game.
The Kyle board.
And we're gonna win the tournament.
Or is just
And we're winning the tournament.
Or is that just
Call
the
your
game
shot.
in which you lose hope?
This game?
The Tech game.
No.
No, you're settled all the way in.
Yeah,
You're
I'm all the
hunkered
way
down.
in. Yep.
Love it. Wow,
Bobby's gonna come back.
I didn't expect that from you. I didn't. I really didn't. And you continue to surprise me.
Captain,
Captain.
they put up a good fight tonight.
They did.
I believe, Captain.
They did.
Yeah, you did, Erik.
I believe.
What about you, Rubus? Where do you say that this season went wrong?
Okay. I have some explaining to do.
Game 1.
Idaho State.
Idaho State.
Now I know what you're saying in your head right now, Erik. You're so dramatic. You're so extreme. What do you mean you knew that it was over against Idaho State? It was the first real game of the season. Go back and listen to that post game. I was really, really upset.
You were
to a level that a lot of people told me I shouldn't be, and that's because I saw a team that was not ready for what was coming. And I didn't think it'd be this bad. Obviously, I didn't predict the injuries, suspensions, whatever, dismissals from team. But I knew this team wasn't going to hit their ceiling game 1, and it got worse than I expected. But that Idaho State game, man, go back and listen to what I said. I'll give credit where credit is due, but I had certain things I needed to see immediately going into this season that I didn't see that game.
I think that's fair.
And I told myself if I didn't see it, that was that.
I respect it. I respect both
Go
of
back
your
and listen to
answers.
that show.
Respect both of your answers. I'm going to go when we got to Big 12 play and when we lost to UCF. 95-89. It's a game where Arizona State outshot UCF from the floor. They outshot UCF from 3. They had 14 turnovers to UCF's 12, and they got out-rebounded by 4. Mm-hmm. They scored 89 points offensively. It was a very, very all right game. But what I realized in this moment, and I can't believe it took me this long to get to that, was they didn't have the guy. They didn't have a guy that you could turn to in this conference and say, hey, everybody else is having a night or everybody else is off their game. I need you to take over, right? Just literally coach the player.
Yeah.
This is your moment. Go have it. There wasn't a guy on this team. BJ Freeman gave you 26. Kashawn Hall for UCF went for 40 points that night.
And that's a high ceiling to ask for, but
that's the thing is tonight it took 40 minutes for Alston Mason to get to 33.
To get competitive with it in the game too, not just win. You know,
Kashawn Hall carried that UCF team in that win. And UCF is not a good team in this conference. You look to Tech, there's a JT Toppin that literally went for 40 plus on Arizona State. There are guys around this conference that when you need to beat a bad team, when you need to beat a team that is definitely worse than you, they can do it. Arizona State didn't have that guy.
Yeah. They didn't have a lot of the guys that they needed. And I really hope that we are going into next season with some different talking points that we did going into this one.
Yeah.
Because going into this one, it was put up or shut up time. And what are you going to do in the Big 12? You have the roster. It's a far-fetched reality to think that Arizona State will get as good of a recruiting class and as good as a transfer portal class going into next season as they did going into this one on paper.
On paper,
but
yeah.
Can they build a better, more cohesive team? That's the big question. And I don't want to be asking the same questions about the same people. I just personally don't think that there's a solution there. That sucks because I wish it wasn't the case.
That's fair.
And if Bobby Hurley decides to continue to coach, if he does eventually get let go from Arizona State, I'll be rooting for Bobby. I want him to succeed.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of Arizona State fans that like Bobby.
I would like him
as
a
stuck
person. Around, but like in a different capacity. And I know that most head coaches wouldn't do that, but like Bobby is a player liaison, somebody who could be a spokesman of the program with his passion, with his energy, and with his relationships, ability to connect with players. In modern day college athletics, that could be a massive asset to a program. I need somebody fresh calling the plays, and I don't know if that's something that could ever happen. So to me, there's just one step forward, and I don't like that step, but you got to take it. How
do you feel, Captain Redbeard, before we get out of here? Just any final thoughts from you on what you've seen from ASU? I know there's one game left in the regular season, but this game feels like it was really it almost feels like it was the finale.
Despite everything that's happened, they do keep putting up some effort. I didn't watch the game last weekend, but it seems like they keep coming out with some effort in these games, which you do at the very least like to see that. This team hasn't totally given up. But it's been a long season. It's a lot of lows this season. So I think a change will have to be made.
I do too. And that's kind of leading me to closing time, guys. Presented by the Carol Royce team, your home sold guaranteed realty, where Carol is going to guarantee 100% of market value. You can learn more at carolroyceteam.com. You all gave beautiful takeaways. I'm sure there's some great comments in the chat, but this is my takeaway. The personal message. Good night, sweet prince. That is to both you guys when we get out of here. And to Bobby Hurley, because I think the sun has set. It is time to tuck yourself in. You had one hell of a run at Arizona State, kinda. But it's time to close up shop. It's time to find a new head coach and maybe a new opportunity for Bobby Hurley himself. Guys, make sure you hit that like button. You hit that subscribe button. You drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And if you enjoyed the content, make sure you give us a follow over at PHNX Sun Devils on social. You can follow me at Anthony Totri. You can follow this guy right here at Erik Ruby. That is Erik with a K. You can follow the captain of this beautiful vessel, K2 Sports, over at K2 Sports. I'm Captain Redbeard. Guys, we will see you on Wednesday again at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But in the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.